Hey, FanboyNation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy. Fanboy.
Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
FanboyNation.
Dot. I assume Tom.
This afternoon, I get the pleasure of reconnecting with an old friend of mine. We are talking about Alpha Omega Con. Ralph Miley, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I just thank you for the opportunity to be able to tell people about it.
Listen, man, this is what, like year 12 at this point?
This is our 9th year doing it. We had a 2-year hiatus because of COVID, but yeah, this is Alpha Omega Con number 9.
Yeah, I attended year 1 and 2, and I'm coming back this year at least for about an hour or so because I got something that evening. But congratulations, man. I mean, year 9, here we are. You know, this is a Christian-created comic book convention, a one-day event that you've been doing for 9 years. How did this all come about for people that aren't familiar with OmegaCon or Alpha OmegaCon?
Well, it was the brainchild of the Christian Comics Art Society founder, Don Ensign. We'd always talked about doing a Christian-themed comic book convention, and we were just waiting for the right time to do it. And so what happened was I approached him in 2013 about doing a comic book convention, and he gave his blessing. And so we went through the process of contacting vendors and writers and just networking with people who we know to bring in, Christians, but also people who may not be Christians, but have family-friendly product to this convention. And so it started at the Redeemer Church in 2014.
Yeah, and here we are. We're going to be in Long Beach. Let's remind everybody of the parish it will be at. Light and Life Christian Fellowship in the city of Long Beach on Downey Avenue. How did you guys connect with Light and Life?
Well, Light and Life, we came through contact first through Alexander James, a gifted minister who's also a comic book fan. And he had people who were on staff, not on staff, but who were volunteers with the youth who were also geeks. And they would like Brett and Ian and Richard. They were all geeks, and they suggested that we have it at their facility. So last year was our first year at the Light and Life Christian Fellowship, and was a really, really good experience. They were very supportive. The pastor Pastor Sean was very supportive, and we had on-site liaison Kimmy, and she was just amazing. And they just really were helpful in having their church members, volunteers, and set up and breakdown and manning. And it's just been a really good experience.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. And I know this year you're doing a voiceover panel. My good friend Katie Lee will be there with Justin Cowder. Am I pronouncing his last name correctly? Yeah, they're going to be doing a voice acting seminar. There's Christian content coming out that's going to be more family friendly. It's not going to be the traditional TBN style. It's going to be a little more, dramatic. I think is the word I'm looking for. It's going to be a little more dramatic in their performances. So it's going to be a lot of fun in what's coming. And Katie has been doing this since as long as I can remember, and I'm glad she's going to be a part of this.
Well, Katie's just been an amazing resource and a support to the Alpha Omega Con. She's been there as an exhibitor and has hosted the voice acting panel for years now. So she's like a regular to us.
And then Sergio Carrillo is going to
Ariello.
Yes. Sorry. With the Spanish, you don't pronounce the double L. With the Italian, you do. So I did. I went with the Spanish pronunciation based on location. But Sergio is going to be there. Sergio is responsible, or partly responsible, for the Action Bible.
And yes, he's the illustrator for it. He was hired by David C. Cook to illustrate the whole Action Bible, which is a bestseller. I mean, it's been amazing. It's been a #1 seller for years now. Distributed all over the world in different languages. And so he'll be there. We're having people like Kevin Grievous, screenwriter from Underworld. He'll be there. Travis Hansen from Beanleaf Press, Mike Kunkel from Hero Bear. Those are just a few of the names who are going to be there. Buzz Dixon from G.I. Joe, you'll be there. So we're going to have a really good lineup of guests there this year.
I'm thrilled for you. You even have a panel on, is there such a thing as Christian horror? And that's interesting because typically when something is horror related that's Christian involved, it's always demon possession and an exorcism. And recently there was also the film Nefarious, where an atheist is confronted by a prisoner, or an atheist psychologist is meeting with a prisoner who claims to be possessed by a demon that is, they're trying to figure out if he's going to be mentally stable to face execution. So, this is going to be a very interesting topic that you guys are putting together.
Well, we have had it there for the last year, and it was packed because they were interested to hearing, different points of view as to the topic of Christian horror. We have several advocates of it, like Kevin Grievous and Jonathan Kahn, and the moderator Josh Burns. They are very strong advocates of Christian horror. All you have to do is read the book of Revelation and read some of the descriptions, and you wonder yourself, whoa, this is kind of graphic. This is it is unsettling. But they want to delve off into it, and how do we approach it from a Christian perspective?
And then you're also going to have the Christian Comic Art Society mixer later on that evening. How's that been working out?
Well, the mixer's exclusively for the Comic-Con. The mixer that we normally have is and has a Comic-Con, and usually on Fridays. And it's basically, we come together, Christian fans and professionals. We host it along with Geeky Guys for God, who are also going to be there. And we have a trivia contest. So that's not going to be happening at the Alpha Omega Con, but it is a regular component of the Comic-Con in San Diego. We've had that for about, oh goodness, maybe 8 or 9 years now.
We've had quite a few Christian themes over the decades with mainstream comic books that have kind of fallen out or will eventually be revitalized for an issue or two. Let's take Daredevil, for example, being a devout Catholic and Frank Miller implanting that. Or, Green Lantern, or, which I think was Episcopalian or Presbyterian, something of that sort. When you bring in a Christian Comic-Con like this, obviously it's interdenominational. We want to make sure.
Yeah, it is definitely interdenominational.
How does that affected people? Because sometimes they'll sit there. I remember one time you hosted it at a Baptist church, and people are like, well, I'm not Baptist. Can I go? I'm not evangelical. Should I show up? Oh, I'm Roman Catholic or I'm Greek Orthodox. Will they accept me there? And this is open to all denominations, from the apostolic traditions to the evangelical free churches.
Yes, it's open to all faiths in that. And we have people who are not necessarily Christian. We invite them as well, because we want them to get just a taste of what it is, because some people have a preconception of what Christian is, as far as what they may perceive from it on television and maybe certain movies, but there's not really a monolith, attribute that you can say, all right, then you have these different faiths, but what really unites us is our love for Christ. And that's what connects us. But we also want to make it available to those who may not have any type of faith tradition, but can come into an environment where they see people who do have strong faith be able to engage in the pop culture and have a good time with it and not fear about being judged.
And also a place where you can take your kids, because sometimes some of these places aren't always the most family friendly.
Exactly. And so that's been one of our real strong suits, is that a lot of families have been able to bring their children to there without fear of seeing something overly sexually graphic or violently graphic where they have to hide their eyes. But we have a lot of, like, for example, some of the books that we have do have mature themes in them. When you look at the Bible and some of the Old Testament stories, and some of the themes are, very mature, but they're not overly graphic, but they do address issues within that are addressed in the Old Testament and in the New Testament.
And you are going to have a craft center that's going to be interactive for the kids and for the family if they want to create and draw and come up with their own comic book characters.
Well, they have, yeah, we have a craft, definitely. We had this was our first, last year was our first year with it, and they had figures that were donated by different gaming companies, and the kids got to paint them. And so there was crafts in that area. There was gaming, there was video games, there was just a lot of material. Then we had a laser tag on the field, and the kids loved that. And then the kids loved the cosplay contest, and the cosplay contest was divided up into two categories. You have the, kids category, and then you have the adult category, in which, again, families could participate and really have a good time. We've had parents say they look forward, actually their children look forward to coming to the Alpha Omega Con, because it is a Comic Con in which they can feel safe as far as their children walking around and looking at the various vendors and the material that's being sold without being overly concerned.
And that's a fun aspect of it as well. You mentioned it's open to people who aren't part of Christianity, again, whether from the apostolic tradition all the way down to the evangelical tradition. When people that are outside the family, shall we say, come in and visit and be a part of it, what has their reaction been to being a participant as a patron at Alpha Omega Con?
One of the things that when I do talk to some of them, they always mention how nice we are and how they were just surprised at how kind everybody is. They feel that they're in a place where they don't feel judged, but they're just there to enjoy the pop culture community. Their eyes are opened to the tenets of the faith from a different perspective. We're talking about through the eyes of pop culture. So they see us and look at us and say, wow, this is not what I'm used to. Because we do have a great time. This is a really fun atmosphere that exists when at that convention.
What I think a lot of Christians forget is that they're very harsh on people outside the church when they judge them, and tend to be more lenient on people within the church, which, if you've actually read the epistles, it's supposed to be the inverse, where we're supposed to be on people that are already a part of the family and be more lenient with people outside. I think it was St. John Chrysostom, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't want to misquote him, but he said, God is blasphemed more by the lapsed Christian than he is by the heretical pagan.
Well, if you look at Jesus, some of his harshest words came at the religious people. And so he was very confident. He would butt heads with them and confront them on their interpretation of the scripture. And he would take them to task on that. So you see Jesus being really kind of cut and dry when he's dealing with the faith in that area. Just look at the temple. That was a temple in which he was turning over tables and whipping people. It wasn't out in the public, but he says, "This my house shall be called a house of prayer." So his harshest, how we say, actions were toward those who claim to be religious.
Be more legalistic than the actual faithful.
Yes.
And that's something I've noticed with what you guys have done at this convention, is that you've opened it up to everyone. You're extremely welcoming. Everybody has been extremely kind. I don't think I've seen one argument on the convention floor, whether between vendors or other creators, maybe families. Someone's like, it's time to go. Why? We've been here for quite a while. We got to get dinner. But other than that, I haven't seen anything beyond that.
And that's just the atmosphere we try to really cultivate, with this. It has been just that type of venue in which we just get to see each other. It's like seeing family. We haven't seen each other with over a year, and now we're in this environment where faith is welcome and celebrated, and we get to share that with people who feel the same way. And so if somebody at a table wants to pray for somebody, then they have that freedom. Or if there is that opportunity to share faith, if God opens the door, it's not frowned upon. We're not openly proselytizing or anything along those lines, but sometimes the conversations come up, but the conversations are done in a cordial and in a civil manner.
Right. And I think people really need to understand the difference between proselytizing and evangelizing. And in this regard, it's more evangelizing because the doors are open. And if you have questions, Ralph or anybody else there that's willing to answer them will be more than happy to do so. And I know Ralph, he'll talk your ear off if you let him, because even though he's got to be somewhere in like 20 minutes, he'll give you those 20 minutes till he's got to get there.
Oh, definitely. That's when I'm at the CCAS table at Comic-Con, they'll just divert some of the talkers over to me, because I will engage in conversation for hours, just talking and asking questions, and trying to engage them in question, give them some questions to really think about. But it's always in a not non-confrontational way. But I take my teaching, or my way of doing things, of how Jesus approached the woman at the well, and actually engaging in conversation with her. And she was taken aback by it. My first, him being a Jew, and then him being a man, to be able to talk to her. And so that's what we want to do, is to engage in that conversation, because when you engage in conversation and the people who are on the other side feel that they have a voice, or feel that they're being listened to, or they feel that they're of value, then those walls that they normally have will come down, because now they feel that there's an exchange going on.
Right. Yeah, and that's what you guys have been open to at Alpha Omega Con, and people are welcome. They're here. They're having a great time. The families don't have to worry about any questionable material. The panels are fantastic. Everyone is engaged. Are there going to, this year, we're about a week away. It's from 10 to 6 p.m. But in the future, are we looking to do like a movie night where it's like, hey, we're going to have a sneak peek of this faith-based film? I know Angel Studios has been putting out a lot of stuff coming out. So, maybe a crossover with them, or.
Oh, that would be something that we would definitely be open to. We've never made that connection with people like Angel Studios, or people in the entertainment industry like Dean Cain or Kevin Sorbo. We've never really been able to have that connection. Most of our interactions have been with comic book geeks and anime and gaming. But it would be a great opportunity to network in that capacity, because we bring a different component to it. In other words, it's not like a conference. It is a convention, and a comic book convention, as you know, is very fan interactive. And that's what we want to do, is provide a interactive atmosphere in which you can have that type of dialogue with professionals. And it's such a relaxed atmosphere. You can talk with somebody like Sergio Cariello, and he engage with you and have these conversations. He can tell the people about their journey, and it's more along the lines of what Comic-Con used to be, as opposed to the media, let's just say the media juggernaut that it is now.
It is a 5-day extravaganza that you are not going to be able to sleep at any point in time until you get home. So yeah, I like that you guys have kept it a 1-day convention at this point, because it's there for the interaction and for the people. And you want to keep it what it is without turning into, for a lack of a better term, corporate entity, where it's just the go, go, go. This is a slower pace where we want the interaction.
Yes, that's what's important, and that's what's needed, because you may have Christians who may not have had opportunities to attend conventions. A lot of times we'll have parents who aren't familiar, or maybe have a negative view of pop culture, but their children are immersed in it. And so they will take their children to this event, and they find that their children are engaged, they enjoy it, and it opens their eyes to, wow, all right, then I did not know this type of community or this type of culture existed within the Christian community. And of course, you're going to have those who still frown upon, comic books in general. But what we're doing is just trying to open people's eyes to really look at it and think that this might be an opportunity for witnessing, to share our faith and to have this community. Because one of the things we understand, sometimes we can feel kind of isolated, like I'm the only one within a church environment. But when you come to a community where everybody, they get it, they understand what you're talking about. So when you're talking about One Piece, they are kind of, oh, somebody understands it, and they may have a night where they watch the One Piece series, and Christians kind of like, oh, it's all right to do that.
Now, are there going to be like food trucks or food vendors? There's the church kitchen going to be open for, lunchtime meal or snacks?
We had a couple of really good vendors last year, but unfortunately we haven't been able to get a hold of them. These things have come up, but we are looking into that, hopefully having something on site in which the people can come to and engage in a snack during that time.
Now, you said the pastor is part of the community, at least, on the outskirts of it, pop culture wise and comic book geek. Will the nave of the church be open if people want to go inside and pray at some point?
Well, the name of the church, again, Light and Life Christian Fellowship,
right,
in Long Beach. And they're very community minded in reaching out to the community. A couple of their volunteers are actually going to some of the campuses in Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach and Long Beach College, to hand out the cards. And they're going to have those cards at the local bookstores so that people can see. So they're very active in reaching out to the community.
I should have enunciated better. I meant the nave of the church, like the inside of the church. Will that be open if people want to come inside and pray?
Oh no, we've basically taken the sanctuary and made it the convention floor.
Okay. Because I didn't know if the pastor was going to be there and, people get a chance to talk to him, or if they need to go inside and pray a little bit, just for their own benediction.
Well, there will be church leaders there on site. And if there's individuals who are looking for prayer, they will definitely make the time and make the space to pray for people who are in need of that kind. And that's the great thing about it. It's not like something that is frowned upon or looked on as an anomaly when you pray for people.
Yeah. You've been at this for 9 years with the convention itself. You've been going to Comic-Con with the Christian creators. What's it like now going to Comic-Con? Because, there are the quote unquote Christian protesters outside that are like, this is demonic, you shouldn't be there, you're all going to hell. And then you're like, hi, I'm Christian myself and I'm going into this facility, especially to be a part of it.
Well, I find that there are like two groups of people in that are protesting. They are what I call the yellow sign people, who are all they do is hold up the sign, and they will be playing scripture. And then I call them the other group is the angry sign people, where if you cosplay as Batman, you're going to hell. And so in talking with them, they are not there to engage. They're there to pass, unfortunately, judgment on the people. And I think that can have a detrimental effect. I'm not wanting to come against them, but when you're talking about geeks, one of the things that I remember hearing one person say is that where they were saying that, you're hellbound if you cosplay, and one of the attendees says, I'm a geek and I've been rejected by the society. I'm not surprised God rejects me either.
That's a heavy one.
That's a heavy one. And you're there to say, no, God doesn't. He loves you. He has this passion for you. That's why he sent Christ to die on our behalf, because of this passion that he has, this love that is an all powerful, all knowing, eternal love for us. And so for people to feel that, because they're already coming from a point of rejection, now they feel that God rejects them. But the good thing that comes out of it is that because we've been at Comic-Con for so long, that people will come to our table and begin to ask us about the yellow sign people, and then we can engage in conversation, because it's a matter of presentation.
Right.
Because I've approached the yellow sign people, and again, they are not as confrontational as the angry sign people.
Right.
And I took
And they
some of their
sometimes pass out water to people too. On the hotter days, I've seen them
yeah,
pass
the
out
geeky
water.
guys forgot. They pass out water to the attendees. And it's all about presentation. I can take the same tracks that they have outside for the yellow sign people. I've taken many of them, and then I take them to the freebie table at the Christian Comics Art Society, and they fly off the table, because we don't force it on them, but we make it available to them. And they fly off the table because it's a matter of presentation, in other words, understanding the culture.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people often forget. We are often reminded that we are in the world, but not of the world. And sometimes we have to know how to react to the world.
Right, exactly. And so I think understanding the culture helps, because you can engage those people who may not have a faith, but you can engage them on other things such as Star Trek or Star Wars or several One Piece, and you can engage them on that level, and then at that point you've made a connection.
Right. And this is what we're looking to do. We're looking to grow the community and make even more connections at Alpha Omega Con on Saturday, October 7th. I can't believe it's been 9 years. It was that 2-year hiatus. I was like, oh yeah, this should be like year 11 or 12. And then I forgot about the 2 years that we had to take off.
Yes.
When, news continues to spread and we're like, hey, Alpha Omega Con's coming. It's going to be a great time. What is something that someone should be most excited about? Like whether it's the panels or making a creator or anything of that sort, coming on Saturday, since you open at 10 and close at 6.
I would say that they should be excited about meeting other believers who have the same type of passion for pop culture that they do, so that they can cosplay and come as some of their favorite characters, and being a community that doesn't look upon them strangely, but accepts them in that capacity. So that I think that's probably the most exciting thing that they can look forward to. Yes, we have some great guests and I think some outstanding panels. And those panels, we just have some great conversations about topics such as horror and how do we reach those kids that are who are immersed in the culture, and how do we connect with them. And those are great conversations to have. But I think for me, the fun part is just connecting with other Christian creatives.
Yeah. Are you looking for next year? Because this year we're already set. We're ready to go. We're excited for everyone to be there. Is there something that like you wanted to pull off this year, but you just didn't have enough time to do so that you'd like to do for next year?
I would still like to connect with other communities of Christian faith that I would like to connect with. I just recently connected with this group of animators, and they're called the In-Betweeners, and then they are involved in animation. And I got to go to one of their meetings where they talk about, being in the industry. Some of them write for animation studios, and some of them are independents. I would love to connect with that community. I would love to connect with those who are in the entertainment, who are in the movies and all of that, who want to maybe connect with those who are engaged in comic books and animation and gaming, and make that connection. I know they had a convention, I think in Tennessee. I think it was called Rise Up. I only know one person who went there, but to connect with something like that, because we've been fortunate to be able to have this for 9 years. And I think one of the things, it's been by God's grace, first of all, that God has allowed us to have it this long. But also we've been able to partner with local churches in putting on this event. And they see it as a community outreach. So it benefits both of us. We have a venue in which we can have our event, but also it is an opportunity for that church to reach out to the neighboring community, invite them in. And when they see that, oh goodness, there's a church that enjoys pop culture, all the time we've heard churches talk about how people will come back to that church because they see them as at least welcoming in that capacity.
Well, Ralph, I can't wait to see you next Saturday, even if it's only for an hour or two. I'm
Yes.
glad I'm going to be able to make it out. Alpha OmegaCon, alphaomegacon.com. It's going to be at Light and Life Christian Fellowship, 5951 Downey Avenue, Long Beach, California, 90805 is the zip code, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Where can we find Alpha OmegaCon to connect with on social media and prep for the events of that Saturday?
Well, you can find us at Alpha OmegaCon. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. Yeah. So we have those social media platforms in which you can connect with us through there. And again, you can go on the website in which you already mentioned.
Ralph Miley, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. I can't wait to see you in about a week's time. We're actually going to have to make time to grab lunch. We always say that since we only live like 20, 30 minutes away from each other, but our schedules are so all over the place that we actually have to physically make time this time.
Yes, we have to do that when we just have to put it in our calendar.
Right. Just chisel it in stone. This is the day I'm seeing Ralph. That's it.
Exactly. Once it's not official until you put it in your phone.
Well, Ralph, God bless you. I'll see you on the 7th, at least for an hour or two. I can't wait for everyone's reaction to Alpha OmegaCon year 9 after a 2-year hiatus in the middle of that COVID crisis. But at least we get to celebrate and have fellowship and break bread with one another.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to see you, man.
God bless you, Ralph.
God bless you.